The sun has left and forgotten me.
Your stories don't define you, but how you tell them will. Hi, I'm Sarah Elkins, your host and chief storymaker at Elkins Consulting. My overnight success has been anything but. By the time you hear this episode of Your Stories Don't Define You, I will have taken my place on the red dot at the TEDx U Street Women event on November 3rd. I'm recording this exactly a week prior to stepping onto the stage. My mind is buzzing with anticipation, excitement, and anxiety, and has been for a few weeks now. It's been almost impossible to focus on anything else. It seemed fitting somehow to share the story of how I got here and to send a sort of love letter to my future self in today's episode. When my dear friend Alani Bankhead forwarded the invitation to submit my big idea to TEDx U Street Women in July of 2024, I hesitated. I heard from friends who have spoken on the TEDx stage that it's a serious commitment. In 2019, I submitted an idea to a TEDx event and got to the final round before finding out I wasn't selected because my idea didn't quite fit with the theme for that event. For a few years after that, I couldn't get excited about the idea of speaking on a TEDx stage. In early 2024, I sent submissions to a few events, but wasn't really committed to the process. Asking myself the hard questions comes more naturally to me these days, so I stopped to do that when I saw the invitation forwarded from Alani. Why would I want to speak on a TEDx stage? What's my message? Why does it matter? Why does it matter now? Why am I hesitant? Does it feel too vulnerable? Am I afraid of the time commitment? Am I afraid of the requirement to memorize a 12 to 18-minute talk? Am I afraid that I won't be selected or that I'll fail somehow? My answer came to me, surprise, surprise, while I was hiking. The theme for the pitch was democracy. And one thing I knew for sure in the summer of 2024 is that our democracy faces immediate and significant threats. The division among us continues to be incredibly painful and discouraging. And I'd come to the conclusion that a big part of the damage was coming from social media. Again, no surprises there. But what became the seed of truth for me was the realization that each of us are responsible for the condition our communities are in, and that any of us participating online were potentially contributing to the division. You've heard me say this before. Every like, comment, and share tells the algorithm on every platform exactly what it needs to know to manipulate us. We get creeped out when we have a quiet conversation about something like camping gear, and suddenly we're inundated with advertisements for camping gear on our social channels, email, and even text messages. But we don't seem to be nearly as aware or concerned when we hit like or share on a divisive meme, image, or headline, and our social feeds are suddenly filled with one side of a political or social issue. That should make us a lot more uncomfortable than advertisements for a new tent or hiking boots. My first pitch to the event was 5 minutes, and I was pretty happy with what I came up with. My big idea was that each of us are responsible for the division, and that the only way to combat it is to make efforts to intentionally share personal stories, not necessarily to persuade, but to connect with people around us. The organizers of that pitch event gave me great feedback afterward. They said that my idea was actually 2 ideas, and I would only have time for one of them in a 12-minute talk. When I found out I made it to the finals and would have 3 minutes to pitch my idea at the next event, I focused on the one I believe is the most practical and simple to apply. That our personal stories can reduce loneliness and division when we share them with the intention to connect, not with the intention to change a person's mind. Now, I've been teaching public speaking for years, and the process and experience of refining my idea completely changed my approach to my program. I created a solid curriculum to help others identify a topic or a big idea and share it concisely, meaningfully, and authentically. And boy, those 3 minutes on stage went by fast. I walked away feeling like I nailed it. I was surrounded by thoughtful, intelligent, caring speakers with important ideas. And as I waited to find out if I would be selected as one of the TEDx event speakers, I felt a calm wash over me. I didn't feel competitive toward the others. I knew I put in the hard work, simplified and clarified my message, and did my best. And if I wasn't selected, I was okay with that because I knew the others in the room worked just as hard and were deserving of that spotlight and that famous red dot. When my name was called, my smile could not have been bigger. My cousin Jesse had been there from the beginning, and when he hugged and congratulated me, he said, "You took big risks, Sarah, and they paid off. I'm not surprised at all." I have to admit it, I was a little surprised. As I thought about the process of developing my idea, I realized 2 things. One, the experience was powerful because I had to compress my why and my how into a brief and persuasive talk to make people curious to hear more. It brought clarity I'm not sure I'd have ever found without this process. And 2, I might have been using I don't memorize my talks because it doesn't feel authentic. I want my stage presence to feel organic, not stilted with a script, as an excuse. I realized part of that is true, but mostly I said that because I don't like memorizing. It's hard. It takes serious effort and time, and it's not fun. And I like fun. But here's what happened when I memorized my 3-minute pitch. I wasn't spending any serious energy on thinking of what I would say next. Instead, I was present, fully engaged with my audience, because my words flowed almost effortlessly. But seriously, after all that clarity and compression of my message, my first thought when I got home and started to work on a full script was, those 3 minutes were perfect. How will I expand it to 12? I opened the 3-minute script document, added space between the sections, and the first draft of my full talk was filled in with more citations, more stories, and a story sharing framework that came to me, big surprise, on a nice long hike. When my friends said being a TEDx speaker was a big commitment, they weren't exaggerating. On our recent family Zoom call, I mentioned to my brother and sister that this has been over a year in the making, that I submitted my first brief video in late July and was notified of my acceptance into the semifinals in mid-August, over a year ago. But my siblings reminded me that no, this journey started long before then. My sister said, "Sarah, you've been fine-tuning, developing, and iterating your storytelling ability, your communication skills, and your speaking and performance presence for at least 10 years. So on the cusp of my trip back to Washington, D.C., I've been trying not to think of November 3rd as a culmination, because that implies a summit or an ending. Instead, I'm framing it with the image of a trail map in my head. I'm at a summit, but not the summit. I'm looking at an intersection of a multitude of paths, wondering which one will call to me next. Here's my love letter to my future self, 1 week from today. Sarah, you did it, and I'm proud of you. You met your goal to make your talk, your big idea, both entertaining and practical. You brought humor and emotional connection. Real, practical ways people can see the beauty and value of their own stories and how to share them to connect with the people around them. You offered tools to people to reduce division and loneliness in their communities. So whatever happens next, know that you put the time, effort, and love into your idea and to the people who hear it. And now the ball is in their court. You spoke clearly and passionately through your nervousness and stress. You honored the encouragement and support you've received from Bob, your greatest advocate and cheerleader, your husband, and acknowledged before and after the people who have invested so much love and energy into you. Your community showed up. So now's the time to celebrate, to acknowledge this achievement and model what that looks like for the people around you. Take time now to breathe, to walk, to hug fiercely, and to drink champagne. Your future impact is waiting for you, and you know what you need to do to maximize and leverage this recent success. I won't wish you luck. Instead, I'll wish you an exciting and wonderful journey.
That's the time you must keep on trying. Smile, what's the use of crying? You'll find that life is still worthwhile if you just smile.